Greetings and welcome to our weekly devotionals where we take a look at one of the lectionary readings and offer some thoughts for reflection throughout the week. This week we're looking at a sort of an obscure epistle, the first letter of John. And several years ago I heard this joke about being a pastor, getting into ministry. The joke was that the pay is not all that good, but the retirement benefits are out of this world. You get it? Obviously, the pay is pretty lousy, but if you're a minister, the assumption is you're going to make it to heaven one day. Whether that's true or not, I guess I'll find out. But I know of a lot of Christians throughout my life who have kind of focused on heaven more so than living here on earth. Being a Christian is all about just making it to heaven one day, and so kind of living here on earth is kind of secondary. And this is at the root of a conflict that the first letter of John addresses. Now, we don't actually know if most scholars, in fact, think that the author of this letter was not actually the Apostle John, who is credited with writing the fourth gospel, but perhaps someone who followed John or someone who is in the church that John founded or that John's gospel sort of created. And within this church community, there's a bit of a conflict between people who think that Jesus was all about just spiritual things, and that spiritual matters are the only thing that matter, and are of higher importance than matters of the flesh. And this has caused some conflict in the church community. And so the author of this letter writes in chapter 1, "This is the message that we have heard from him and proclaim to you, that God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. If we say that we have fellowship with him while we are walking in darkness, we lie and do not do what is true." Those who are walking in darkness, the author asserts, are those who cling to that belief that only spiritual things matter. And one of the things that this led to in this conflict is that some of these folks who believe that Jesus is just spiritual, well, they ended up thinking that they were better than folks in their community who were concerned with matters of the flesh. And Christians still do this today. If we focus only on heaven, we can tend to think that fleshly concerns or desires are sinful. It leads to an obsession with, for example, sexual immorality or what we perceive to be sexual sins. That kind of focus can also lead to a disdain for ecological concerns and God's creation. It can also lead to all kinds of oppression and injustice. Christians might say, well, what does it matter what you go through here on earth? It's all about getting to heaven one day. But as John's gospel asserts in the very first chapter, Jesus was the Word made flesh. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. It's about incarnation and God coming to us, not just in spiritual matters, but in fleshly matters as well. We are beginning the season of Eastertide, and we are Easter people, and we celebrate resurrection. And a reminder today that resurrection, it's not just about the hereafter, but about the here and now as well. Amen.